When we were first looking at curriculum for this, I really couldn't find any information online other than what the company itself put out, which was great, but I always wanted to hear another mom's opinion and to hear her perspective on it. There was a couple of videos that I could find, but not a lot. It wasn't what I would consider a popular curriculum. It wasn't something that was used by a lot of people, or if it was used by a lot of people that were not on YouTube. Hello and welcome to Mile High Homeschool. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about the curriculum that we use to teach spelling, reading, writing, and phonics. So the curriculum that we use is called The Logic of English, and I wanted to do just kind of a quick walkthrough with you all to show you just kind of what they teach and how they teach, because when we were first looking at curriculum for this, I really couldn't find any information online other than what the company itself put out, which was great, but I always wanted to hear another mom's opinion and to hear her perspective on it. There was a couple of videos that I could find, but not a lot. It wasn't what I would consider a popular curriculum. It wasn't something that was used by a lot of people, or if it was used by a lot of people that were not on YouTube. So I was really curious about it and wanted to kind of dive into it. So we've been using this curriculum for a couple of years now, and they break it down into two major sections. They have foundations and then essentials. So the foundations is actually what you start with, and then essentials comes in the grades after that. Foundations, however, is something that they break down even further into foundations A, B, C, and D. Now we have completed foundations A, which we did mostly in kindergarten, and then she finished up a little bit of the last part of that curriculum at the beginning of first grade this year. And then we've moved into foundations B, which it looks like we're on track to finish that up by the end of this year. And then foundation C, we're going to tackle in second grade. You could do it at a faster pace if you wanted to. We've just found that about a book a year works well for us. However, like I said, if your kid wants to do more, or is really into it, or that kind of thing, you can. Especially with Foundations A, I think you could move through that a lot quicker, simply because it's more basic at the beginning. With Foundations A, I found that like the first 2/3 of it, you could move through pretty quickly. Like you could probably do at least 2 to 3 lessons a week if you wanted to. However, at the end of it, the last like 20-ish lessons, I want to say, really slowed down, and we had to slow down our pace quite a bit. And then Foundations B, we've kept that slower pace, and so we've only been doing Foundations B at about 1 lesson per week. It's been a little bit more than that. It's like 1 1/4 lessons of Foundations B per week. It's a much heavier and thorough than the initial lessons were in Foundations A, because obviously it's growing and you're going through bigger things and stuff. So it's a bit of a slower pacing with that. My guess is that Foundations C will probably be about the same as Foundations B was, and that we'll do about a lesson, 1 1/4 lessons per week, maybe 1.5, if we're really flying through stuff. But I definitely want to show you guys some of the different things that it comes with and all the things it teaches and that kind of stuff. Foundations A starts off with the sounds of the letters A through Z, and then also just kind of teaching kids to like pick those sounds out of words, and so learning to identify those sounds in speech. And then it starts off with lowercase writing, and so you're learning like the lowercase strokes and that kind of stuff. And the cool thing with Logic of English is it's a curriculum that lets you choose if you want to do cursive or manuscript for your kids, to how you want to teach them to write. So you can choose if you start with cursive first or if you start with manuscript. So we decided to start with cursive first, which was one of the reasons why I chose Logic of English, because it was one of the only curriculums I could find that actually had cursive first as an option. So it lets you do that. You start with cursive even in Foundations A, and teaches you like some of the basic strokes and stuff like that. And I'm sure it follows a very similar pattern with manuscript. And here in the teacher's manual, my daughter has decorated it. You don't have to buy a separate teacher's manual for manuscript and one for cursive. Like you can use the same teacher's manual in both, and I'll show you what that looks like inside. And same thing with Foundations B and C. Like it's the same teacher's manual through all of it. The only thing that changes is the workbook, and then like some of the accessories that you can buy. But the teacher's manual itself stays the same, which is great. And yeah, then Foundations A does like a couple of basic early reading skills of like consonant vowel consonant words, some high frequency words, kind of introducing the idea of reading comprehension and like telling back the stories and that kind of thing. They do have some options of different accessories that can go along with it. And these were some of the ones that we chose. You can order these like penmanship cards. So it's a textured card. It's like a little kind of like sandpaper almost, where the texture part is, for them to be able to trace. And then on the back, it talks about how it's pronounced, or like the different sounds that letter makes, different word options, and then tells the like steps on how to write it. So you can buy those to go with it, which we did get the lowercase and uppercase with those. You can also get the basic phonogram cards as well, which just have the print version of it, and then the same information on the back of like how you pronounce the letter, all the different sounds it makes, and different word examples of how that is. The biggest difference is this does not have the handwriting instructions, whereas this does. And then obviously the green ones are textured, these ones are not. And they have all of the basic letters, like just A through Z in the alphabet, but then they also have multi-letter phonograms, if that makes sense, like EE and WH and NG and IGH and that kind of stuff. And some of them too are just like the basic strokes of teaching kids, like this is the scoop stroke is what it's called, because it's like this is something that they need to learn to do with cursive. Another version of the cards that they have is like a smaller version, so it's like a playing card size, and they actually come with cards that you can do games with them. So you can get them just like a little card like this, and the back of all of them looks the same. And these don't have any texture or anything, they just have the letter on it itself. Or like I said, you can get the multi-letter phonograms on them as well. So you can get both sets. And they have a cursive set. They have the manuscript set is what this one is called. So it's like the typeface that they would see in a book. And then they have another one, I think this is actually the typeface set, the blue one. They have another set too that you can get that's called manuscript, and it's like the way people would write it, because obviously like not everyone writes their A's like this with the print. So because not everyone writes their A's that way, there's another one that you can get that has the other A's. I just got the ones of what that looks like in a book. I'm not worried about it. And we use these for games of like teaching her to match the cursive with the print. We practice reading with it. They've got like old maid cards and a rotten egg and like that kind of thing. And so you can use them as like playing cards and play games, which is really fun. Another option of something that you can get as like another resource is the letter tiles. We got the letter tiles. They're not magnetized normally. I added stuff to it. I found this cool stuff. Ugh. Let me get my desk open. It's just called magnet tape. And it's literally just a roll of like sticky backed thin magnet. And I can't use the tape thing to tear. I mean, technically you could. It doesn't work that well. I just use scissors. But it's great for stuff like this, of making like really lightweight signs that you want to put up, or the letter tiles, because they just like it sticks on, and it's still a really thin letter tile. Like it's not taking up a lot of space. So I love that for the letter tiles and stuff like that. I just wish we had a bigger magnet board to put them on, because we use it a lot for spelling, and I want to have all the options available for her. So I might get like a second board that she's spelling on, and have this one just be to organize all the letter tiles, because we still haven't, these are all the ones that she is still learning, so we still haven't learned all of them. One resource that they offer as well that I did not use a ton, they have these like storybook ones, and it's just like a book of sounds. So it's like, here's E, E, and so then you go through and read yellow lemons, so it's like 2 different sounds, emerald shelves, emus emailing, evil elves. And so it's like helping them learn to discern those phonogram sounds in spoken language. So I have them for like foundations A, B, and C. They have doodling dragons, whistling whales, and then knitting nights. One thing I will say about Logic of English is they offer so many resources, and a lot of them are free too. There's a ton of stuff on YouTube. There's a ton of stuff on their website. There's songs you can do, all kinds of things. So they have a ton of resources, which is great. It's definitely not a sparse curriculum in that aspect of like, oh no, I wish they had this to go with it. Like they've got all the things. So all the options are there. And then Foundations B and Foundations C both come with readers for the kids. And so there's more than this. I just didn't want to have to hold all of them up. Foundation C has like some really big ones and then some thin ones as well. And Foundations B is all the like smaller, more like booklet size ones. So it comes with readers as well that you can get. I shouldn't say it comes with, you can order readers to go with it as well. And then as well, each book or Foundations thing has its own student workbook as well that you can get. And these are just a one-time use kind of thing. So you would need to reorder these workbooks if you're doing them with multiple students and multiple kids. And the workbooks, it's not a super worksheet heavy program, which I like. There's some worksheets in it, but it's not overwhelming. And I'll show you that as we go on today of kind of what the worksheets look like in Foundations B and kind of what the lessons look like and how that all breaks down. With Foundations A, just a quick look through the teacher's manual. I wanted to show you guys what I was talking about, that the beginning lessons are a little simpler than the end lessons. And so the pacing is different. So in the beginning lessons, like let's take a look just at lesson 10 here. So you practice blending some animal words, and so you would say it broken apart as the teacher, and they would put it back together and tell you what the word is. So like seal would be E-O, and then they would put it together and tell you what it is. Then you would do one syllable words, and so they would have a worksheet, and you say the name of the animal, like you split it apart, and then they put it back together and would circle the animal on the worksheet. And it's great because in the teacher's manual, as you can see, they've got lots of like teacher tips and what you're going to need, activities you can do, like foods you can eat, what to do, and the Doodling Dragons book, optional things that you can listen to. We're learning the phonogram O in this lesson, so you learn A, O, Oo and practice that. Then they've got games, and they have classroom versus the regular game because it's a curriculum that's designed to be used either as a homeschool curriculum or in a full classroom. And then they have the handwriting, and so you would use those green tactile cards to practice handwriting. And like I said, they've got handwriting for cursive and manuscript both. So the teacher's manual works for either one. And so teacher's manual like talks about like cursive only, like you're going to cover this part of it. With this, there's a couple worksheets at the end of like you can match your phonograms, like the printed version with the cursive version. And then there's optional things of practicing writing on paper and that kind of stuff. This is one of those things of this lesson is not a super long lesson and wouldn't take a super long time to do. Like you could easily do that lesson in one day. If not, like if you really wanted to break it down, you could do it in 2 days, but it wouldn't be a complicated lesson kind of thing to do. However, at the end, you're going to practice short sounds of your vowels, practicing all the short sounds, and you're going to practice the phonogram Y and whether it's a vowel or a consonant and how that works, the Doodling Dragons page. You're going to do the handwriting page with it, practice your handwriting. Then there's a game that you're going to do with the phonograms, and then you go into spelling and you practice spelling these words. And the way that Logic of English does spelling is that you as a teacher say the word, you use it in a sentence, and then you teach the child to segment the word into the different sounds and then find the phonograms that match it. And they can either find the phonograms by using the letter tiles, by using your phonogram cards, by writing them on a whiteboard, and then you see if it's correct or not, and you go through. And so it takes a while for the kid to do each of those steps. So spelling like definitely adds some time to it. Then they have a comprehension game where you write the word on the board, the child practices reading it, then they do the action. So it's a fun game that definitely keeps them engaged. But once again, it's going to take a little more time to go through all of those words. And then you have another project or game that you can do where you use one of the worksheets and you cut it up and it's into phrases, and then they put the phrases into simple sentences and that kind of thing. So it's a bigger lesson that definitely would take at least 2, if not 3 days to go through. So that's why I say the pacing's a little bit different in Foundations A. So it starts out very, very simple, very much you could do 1 or 2 a week. So you could easily do this if you wanted to, even like the first half of a school year, but then the second half you would probably need to switch to a different book. Foundations A technically covers lessons 1 through 40 with a couple of assessments in between. And then in Foundations B, you actually start, lesson 1 is actually lesson 41. And so it does 41 through 80. So each Foundations book is 40 lessons. And then every 5 lessons they have an assessment. And the assessment is really just a chance for you to see where your child is at and if they need to catch up on anything, or if you need to like reinforce something or maybe practice something a little bit more. So for instance, at the beginning of each assessment, they have it marked as to if it's a number 2, it's something that it doesn't really, it's not a big stress if they have it mastered or not. But if it's a number 1, you definitely want them to have that mastered before you keep going in the book. So then you can take some time to review. So usually what we'll do is we will do an assessment on one day, and then I have 2 days scheduled after the assessment of just review. And so anything that I felt like my daughter was a little weak on or just needed more help or prompting with, we'll take the time to go through it again on those review days, just because I want to make sure she has it down before we move on so it doesn't overwhelm her. So here's an example of what a lesson in Foundations B looks like, and I'll take a look too at the worksheets so you can see what those are like. I took them all out of our student book, so I just have them loose in the folders like I talked about in how I organize my 6 weeks at a time. So in this lesson, we're going to practice the phonogram AR, which is a 2-letter phonogram of R. And so we practice it. You can read it in the book. They can do a game. Then we do a game, like I said, with the phonogram cards. Then we're going to practice writing our uppercase G phonogram. So you learned all the lowercase letters in Foundations A, and then Foundations B is all the uppercase letters that we're going through. So it gives you specific steps on how to do it. Once again, gives you cursive and manuscript both. So we'll do that. Then it goes into what they call phonemic awareness. And so you talk about similarities, or rhyming is what this lesson is. And so you talk about what sounds the same, what doesn't. They'll have a worksheet. So this is, once again, with the handwriting, practicing G. They give you different lines that the child can choose to practice on if they want. Then this part is part of the rhyming page. So you look at the pictures and circle the ones that rhyme with the word make. And so they would go through and do that. So it's just like a simple game that the child can do. Then with spelling, we would go through and spell those with the phonogram tiles or on the whiteboard. And like I said, I feel like my daughter just needs a little more practice with her penmanship. And so because of that, but I make spelling lists like this based off of the spelling words that are in here. So obviously this is for a different lesson, but then she practices tracing and writing just to work on her penmanship a little bit more. And help her with that. Then they have another game here that they would do on the worksheet. You have these, and there's a part where you cut out pictures. I don't have that paper with me right now. I think it's on another sheet. So you cut out the pictures and lay them around and find the sentence to match the picture so it goes in order, so that way you like make the story make sense, kind of a thing. So different ones are different lengths of time, but like I know spelling is going to take us at least, it takes at least probably like 10 minutes to do spelling. And then when she does the writing, it's up to 15 minutes. So I don't really want to do a ton more than just spelling on a specific day, because I don't want English to take longer than like 15 to 20 minutes max. We might do the systematic phonics and the game, and then maybe like a couple penmanship supplement pages from Abeka, or like the handwriting maybe, so she learns uppercase G. And then the next day we'll do practicing rhyming, and since the rhyming activity will be pretty quickly, maybe like rhyming and spelling. And then the next day we'll do this one plus some penmanship pages, so that way she's practicing her penmanship and that kind of thing each day, but it's not an overwhelming amount of work of trying to do a full lesson in a day. So that's kind of what Foundations B looks like inside of their book. So that's a look at Logic of English and how we use it in our homeschool. Like I said, I do supplement with a couple of things. So I use Abeka cursive writing for a little more extra practice with their cursive. And I did go ahead and buy the Logic of English. They have a rhythm of handwriting supplement that you can get, and you can buy the PDF of it and just print off as many pages as you need. At the time, our printer was not working very well, so it was just simpler for me to get the book from Rebecca and use that. However, now we have a new printer that is working much better, so I use the Rhythm of Handwriting supplement a lot more, just because I feel like the amount of penmanship practice they get in the lessons themselves is not quite enough. So I will usually add an extra one in, so she's practicing her writing at least once a day. And it's not a lot, it's just one page, and I'll say, hey, write every word on this 2 times or 3 times or something like that. So something very simple, but very basic with that supplement. Another thing that I like as well for supplementing with the Logic of English is the Bob books. We have a handful of those, a couple different sets and stuff that we've collected over the years, and those work well as supplemental readers for what she's going through with the lessons themselves. One thing I did just from an organizational standpoint, I got these little holders for the phonogram decks, and then this holder for the big like handwriting cards, like the tactile cards, and the big phonogram cards that talk about like how the words are pronounced. I got those from Hobby Lobby, I believe, but the crayon boxes were a game changer for these, and 6x6 craft bin was great for those big cards as well. And I like them because they're sturdy, and I can literally just put the things in there, and then I just throw them into our like extra supplies box or into a backpack to go with us if we're going somewhere for school, and I don't have to worry about them breaking or being damaged or falling apart or unintentionally opening up either, which is really nice. Like I said though, Logic of English has a lot of great resources on their website that you can choose from, and you can kind of bling out your curriculum as much as you want. So there are coloring books for the phonograms, there are big posters you can get to put on your wall, all kinds of stuff. There's apps and games and all kinds of things, flashcards to practice with. We didn't quite go for all those things, but I do enjoy what we've had so far. I do enjoy it so far. I like that she's learning cursive first. She's doing great with it, and it's been awesome. I have a lot of people ask why we chose to teach cursive first, and maybe in another video I'll go more into that as to what influenced our decision with that kind of thing. But yeah, we have loved it so far. It's been really fun. I'm excited to use it for my other kiddos as well. Unless, of course, something comes up and we need to change, and then we can do that and be flexible. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and subscribe and comment down below if you've got any other questions about Logic of English, or what are some of your favorite programs for teaching phonics and spelling and reading and writing and all that fun stuff. I'd love to hear from you, and hope you have a great day. See you next time.